When you go to one really video and then back on the builder with another video. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Let's get straight to it.
Predicting a big news event. The story this time is that the iconic TV show eerily predicted the outbreak of the coronavirus.
Simpsons' predictions for 2025 is insane. The beloved series has a knack for reading the future like a crystal ball.
This scene is by far the most specific prediction The Simpsons has made, to a shocking level of accuracy.
I mean, not just Charlie Cartoon, we do off on the cartoon that nigga now, I don't know what's going on.
The question we're asking, the question that's been asked for 30 years.
From bizarre tech breakthroughs to mind-blowing global events, fans are still buzzing about the show's eerie accuracy again, with another wave of COVID that seems ripped from a Springfield storyline.
I have come back in time to reveal the events of the future.
And so the producers have assembled the top supposed predictions made by The Simpsons.
Could The Simpsons have foreseen the next pandemic twist? Whether it's uncanny creativity or happenstance, these predictions continue to amaze us.
My boyfriend and I have been arguing because he won't.
Yeah.
Show is more prophecy than comedy. Disney buys Fox. In 1998, The Simpsons dropped a quick gag that felt like a throwaway joke. 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Co. It happened in the episode When You Dish Upon a Star, where Homer gets tangled up with Hollywood celebrities, including Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. In one scene, the camera pans over to a sign outside the Fox studio lot that reads as though Disney owns it. At the time, it was just a silly joke. After all, who would have believed that the massive Fox empire could ever be under Disney's umbrella?
Yeah, I think that's the cartoon going on today. They said the cartoon was predicting we're going in the future. Certain scenes.
Yet, nearly 20 years later, that's exactly what happened. In 2017, Disney announced a jaw-dropping deal to buy most of 21st Century Fox for around $52 billion. And by 2019, the deal was done. The result? Bart Simpson and Mickey Mouse suddenly became corporate cousins. This merger sent waves through the entertainment world, bringing icons like the X-Men, Deadpool, and The Simpsons themselves all under the Disney banner. Fans couldn't help but recall that cheeky Simpsons scene from 1998 and laugh about how the show once again seemed to peer into the future. Was it just a lucky guess? Maybe, but it still came true in a big way, and people couldn't resist posting the clip across social media, calling it another Simpsons prediction. Some wondered how the show could have nailed such a wild idea, while others simply shrugged, saying, "That's just The Simpsons for you." Either way, it remains a standout example of how one small joke became a real-life twist nobody expected. Smartwatches. Predicted long before people could talk into their wrists, The Simpsons teased the idea of a watch that could double as a phone in the 1995 episode Lisa's Wedding. Set in a future where Lisa is about to marry an English gentleman named Hugh, the show indulges in playful sci-fi touches, self-driving cars, video chat, and most memorably, a wristwatch that works as a two-way communicator. At the time, the concept felt like something out of an old spy movie. Fascinating, but not exactly practical. Who could imagine calling someone without a regular phone, let alone a flip?
My boy just came crazy. You on your feet.
phone. The scene passes quickly, but it made an impression on fans who later remembered it when real smart
If none of your friends have told you about the skip forever button, those aren't your friends. This is Pi, and if it sounds familiar to you, it's probably
smartwatches hit the market. Indeed, the first real-world attempts at wrist-based communication devices arrived toward the end of the 1990s, yet they were clunky and expensive. It wasn't until much later, with advances in miniaturized tech, that companies like Apple, Samsung, and others turned them into must-have devices. By then, society was ready. Fitness trackers, text messaging on your arm, and even making calls from your watch became normal. When people realized The Simpsons had shown this future decades earlier, they couldn't help but add it to the list of the show's predictions. Fans found it hilarious that what once looked like a silly joke, Lisa's fiancé speaking into his watch, was now part of everyday life. Whether it's sheer luck or the writer's way of poking fun at future possibilities, this particular moment stands out as a light-hearted yet accurate glimpse of our tech-driven world. Autocorrect mishap. Back in 1994, texting wasn't part of daily life, and handheld devices were still very basic. So when The Simpsons showed an Apple Newton utterly butchering a note, it felt more like a cartoonish dig at early handwriting recognition tech. In the episode Lisa on Ice, the bully Dolph tries to write "Beat Up Martin" on his Newton.
I remember that one.
Instead, it interprets his handwriting as "Eat Up Martha." The mistake sets off a chain of laughs in the show, poking fun at how clumsy devices can be when they misunderstand users. Fast forward to the new millennium, and autocorrect has become an everyday feature on smartphones worldwide. Whether you're on iOS, Android, or any other platform, chances are you've dealt with the frustration of sending a text message that's hilariously wrong.
How many of y'all did that? I would hit that like button that while y'all at. Hit that like button. Let's continue.
The phrase, "damn you, autocorrect," gained traction on social media as people shared screenshots of the funniest mishaps. From harmless mix-ups to downright embarrassing errors, these modern autocorrect fails resemble Dolph's Newton fiasco all too well. In fact, the joke apparently caught Apple's attention years later. Some employees even admitted that the "Eat Up Martha" scene became an internal reminder of why reliable text prediction and simple user interfaces mattered. In a funny twist of life imitating art, that
Oh, we ain't gonna act like we didn't just see that. That boy just put out a whole bankroll.
fails resemble Dolph's Newton fiasco all too well. In fact, the joke apparently caught Apple's attention years later. Some employees even admitted that the "Eat Up Martha" scene became an internal reminder of why reliable text prediction and simple user interfaces mattered. In a funny twist of
You did a bankroll. Number 5 and 10. We got that. Pull the bankroll out of there. With $5.
life imitating art, that one silly Simpsons moment helped drive the improvement of a technology that nearly everyone depends on daily. It's a classic example of how the
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon.
Hey, he just asked for his money back. Um,
In a funny twist of life imitating art, that one silly Simpsons moment helped drive the improvement of a technology that nearly everyone depends on daily. It's a classic example of how the
no, it's amazing.
Simpsons calls out a minor tech limitation, and years later, we see it blossom into a major discussion about user-friendly design and the unpredictability of digital helpers. The mass of a technology that nearly everyone depends on daily. It's a classic example of how The Simpsons calls out a minor tech limitation, and years later, we see it blossom into a major...
What do you got on the car? Oh, you kind of pat his butt.
discussion
What?
about user-friendly design and the unpredictability of digital helpers. The mass of the Higgs boson. In the 1998 episode, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, Homer Simpson decides he wants to become an inventor, hoping to shake off his usual laziness and follow in Thomas Edison's footsteps. While brainstorming dubious inventions, like an electric hammer, he stands before a chalkboard covered in complex mathematical equations. At first glance, it's purely a gag. Homer, a supposedly dim-witted character dabbling in advanced physics, is inherently funny. But years later, fans and even some scientists notice something striking about one of Homer's scribbles. The equation he wrote down was eerily close to predicting the mass of the Higgs boson particle, eventually discovered in 2012.
You just that so far. Do y'all believe what they talking about? Let's keep going.
At the Large Hadron Collider. The Higgs, often referred to as the God particle, is a huge deal in physics because it explains why some particles have mass. Scientists had been hunting it for decades, making its discovery a watershed moment in modern science. So how did Homer's messy blackboard come to resemble real theories? Some people think it was simply inspired by then-current ideas floating around the science community, while others chalk it up to random luck. Either way, it's impressive that a throwaway background joke could end up so close to reality. In typical Simpsons style, the show never boasted about Homer's chalkboard once news broke about the Higgs boson. Instead, fans spread the story online, pointing to this moment as yet another reason The Simpsons feels prophetic. It's both entertaining and somewhat mind-blowing that a comedy series could deliver a joke that aligns so closely with genuine scientific discovery. Whether it's a cosmic coincidence or a nod to the show's clever writers, the result is the same. The Simpsons managed to blend science and humor in a way that still stuns people today. Legalized marijuana in Canada. In the 2005 Simpsons episode Midnight RX, Homer and his friends travel to Canada in search of cheaper prescription drugs after Mr. Burns slashes the power plant's medical benefits. Though its main
They were promoting this stuff in the cartoon. You see what I'm saying?
Whether it's a cosmic coincidence or a nod to the show's clever writers, the result is the same. The Simpsons managed to blend science and humor in a way that still stuns people today. Legalized marijuana in Canada. In the 2005 Simpsons episode Midnight...
Whoever know. When they start with legalize, you know what I'm saying? What they just said, marijuana. It's flower.
Night RX, Homer and his friends travel to Canada in search of cheap...
And we do not promote. No, no, no. We do not promote that over here.
Prescription drugs after Mr. Burns slashes the power plant's medical benefits. Though it's mainly a comedic take on cross-border shopping, the storyline takes an unexpected turn when Ned Flanders encounters his Canadian counterpart. This polite Canadian Ned seems remarkably similar to him, until he casually offers Ned a puff of marijuana, claiming it's permitted where he lives. In Canada was purely fictional, and this moment was simply played for laughs. Fast forward to 2018, and Canada made global headlines by fully legalizing recreational cannabis, becoming one of the first major countries to do so. Suddenly, that quick joke from The Simpsons felt eerily spot on. While the show has a light-hearted tone, the writers often slip in cultural or political jabs, and this one proved both witty and strangely prophetic. Fans jumped at the chance to compare the episode's scenario to real events, calling it yet another example of how The Simpsons predicts the future. What makes this story compelling is how it reflects changing social attitudes. Cannabis laws worldwide have shifted dramatically over the past decade, with more countries and US states relaxing or completely overturning.
We want to start shooting in 3.
Kind of sound about right on the head, you know what I mean? You going on three? Hit that like button. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think.
Bans. The Simpsons version may have been a playful exaggeration in 2005, but it sparked curiosity about how a once taboo substance could become widely accepted. Lady Gaga's halftime show. In the 2012 episode Lisa Goes Gaga, Springfield finds itself in a slump, and Lady Gaga arrives to lift everyone's spirits through her unique brand of shock and awe entertainment. She sports a flashy silver outfit and, in a highlight moment, soars above the audience using wires. At the time, the scene was played up for laughs. After all, Lady Gaga is known for her over-the-top performances, but flying around a stage seemed like a cartoonish exaggeration. Then, in 2017, reality caught up in spectacular fashion when Lady Gaga took the Super Bowl halftime stage. Months of speculation about her performance ended with a jaw.
Oh, that cartoon was supposed to be her? I didn't know that.
Dropping entrance, descending from the rooftop on cables while wearing a brilliant metallic outfit. For many viewers, the parallels to her Simpsons cameo were impossible to miss. Social media lit up with side-by-side comparisons, and fans joked that yet again, The Simpsons had nailed another prediction. Part of what makes this coincidence so captivating is the show's knack for blending humor and pop culture commentary. Its writers are no strangers to celebrity references, and Lady Gaga's cameo was intended to mirror her outlandish fashion sense and willingness to push boundaries. No one really believed she would recreate it almost frame for frame, yet it all came true on one of the world's biggest stages. A new COVID outbreak. In the 1993 episode Marge in Chains, Springfield is hit by a virus called the Osaka flu after residents order blenders from Japan. The crates arrive containing an infectious contagion, leading to sickly scenes all over town. Though the episode never meant to be a serious commentary on pandemics, fans later pointed to its uncanny setup when real-world outbreaks, including the 2020 COVID crisis, swept across the globe.
That's what I think.
More recently, talk of a new COVID wave in 2025 has reignited the comparison. The Simpsons often uses wild, over-the-top storylines to highlight everyday fears.
Yeah, a lot of people have been doing pneumonia. You cover me more, right? Yeah, man, you gotta take care of yourself, man. You know, don't be unnecessary places.
And social stress. Here, the show exaggerates the spread of an illness and pokes fun at the townspeople's chaotic reaction. Crowds gather demanding a cure, only to accidentally unleash a swarm of killer bees. In the episode, it's a comedic twist. However, in hindsight, the parallel strikes uncomfortable.
Need a confidence boost when filing your own taxes? Add
to reality, where misinformation and panic also played major roles. What's fascinating is how the show zeroed in on how quickly people can turn anxious when confronted with an invisible threat. While many viewers find the storyline funny, it highlights actual concerns about global travel and supply chain vulnerabilities, issues proven valid by successive real-life outbreaks. Whether The Simpsons foresaw a new wave of COVID or merely offered a humorous look,
Ain't no way.
whether The Simpsons foresaw a new wave of
Everybody's caught in human ate it. Oh, yeah, sting his finger, sting, you know.
COVID or merely offered a humorous look at public hysteria, fans can't help but see it as another example of the series anticipating future headlines. Voting machine glitches. In 2008's Treehouse of Horror Night, Homer sneaks away to cast his ballot in the US presidential election. He attempts to vote for Barack Obama, but every time he presses the touchscreen, it registers a vote for John McCain instead. Annoyed, Homer keeps trying, only for the machine to insist on selecting McCain. It's a classic Simpsons gag, slapstick chaos, mixed with a timely political jab. At the time, few would have believed such a malfunction could mirror reality, but just 4 years later, reports of actual voting machines misreading voter intent emerged during the 2012 election. In one incident caught on camera, a Pennsylvania voter's attempt to choose Obama was repeatedly changed to Mitt Romney. Although this glitch was eventually pinned on calibration errors, the similarity to Homer's experience was hard to ignore.
Why they do that? You know what I'm saying? Why they do that? It's cool what you just said.
Was proven valid by successive real-life outbreaks. Whether The Simpsons foresaw a new wave of COVID or merely offered a humorous look at public hysteria, fans can't help Obama, but every time he presses the touchscreen, it registers a vote for John McCain instead. Annoyed, Homer keeps trying, only for the machine to insist on selecting McCain. It's a classic Simpsons gag, slapstick chaos, mixed with a timely political jab. At the time, few would have believed such a malfunction could mirror reality, but just 4 years later, reports of actual voting machines misreading voter intent emerged during the 2012 election. In one
So it's all say, Obama wasn't supposed to win. I don't know. That's what they're trying to say.
incident caught on camera, a Pennsylvania voter's attempt to choose Obama was repeatedly changed to Mitt Romney. Although this glitch was eventually pinned on calibration errors, the similarity
It's
to Homer's experience was hard to ignore. Suddenly, the Simpsons clip went viral, with people saying they predicted it again. Even election officials were forced to acknowledge that small errors in touchscreen systems could undermine voter confidence. Though clearly a comedic exaggeration, the episode
I have to put you guys onto the
tapped into real fears about technology and democracy. Electronic voting machines promise speed and efficiency, but they also introduce new vulnerabilities, whether through software bugs, hacking risks, or human oversight. The story of Homer wrestling with a stubborn touchscreen might be silly, but it highlighted a serious conversation about election integrity. Roy Horn's Tiger Attack. In the 1993 episode Springfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Legalized Gambling, Mr. Burns decides to open a grand casino in Springfield. One of the highlights of this new attraction is the dazzling magic act led by two performers, Gunther and Ernst, who share an uncanny likeness to Siegfried and Roy. Their stage show features a majestic white tiger named Anastasia, presented as a carefully trained animal partner. But the episode takes a grim turn when Anastasia suddenly recalls her capture and turns on the performers during their act, leaving the audience horrified. At the time, it felt like a typical Simpsons spoof, a funny but exaggerated storyline to poke fun at over-the-top Vegas shows. However, roughly a decade later, real life took a similarly tragic twist. Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was attacked by one of their white tigers during a performance in Las Vegas. He survived, but sustained severe injuries that forced him into a long recovery and effectively ended the duo's popular show. The parallels between this horrific event and the Simpsons storyline were striking. Although The Simpsons used comedic exaggeration to highlight the potential danger of remaining too close to a wild creature, the real incident underscored just how unpredictable animals can be, regardless of the training they've received. In hindsight, the episode now reads less like a playful gag and more like a cautionary note about the limits of human control over nature. The Shard in London. When Lisa's Wedding aired in 1995, few viewers focused on the background skyline. The episode, set in a future where Lisa is engaged, playfully showed London's sporting, towering, futuristic buildings. Among them was a tall, spire-like structure that was never meant to be the centerpiece of the storyline. Instead, it served as a bit of imaginative set dressing to lend a forward-looking feel to the city Lisa visits. At the time, such a slender, pointed skyscraper could have been simply a random creative flourish by the show's animators. Fast forward over a decade, and construction began on a real-life building in London's Southwark, the Shard. Completed in 2012, it quickly became an iconic feature of the city's skyline. Rising to over 300 meters, the Shard features a striking, tapered design with glass panels slicing upward, reminiscent of a giant shard of glass. Fans of The Simpsons couldn't help but draw comparisons between the show's fictional vision and the actual skyscraper piercing the sky along the River Thames. Many joked that The Simpsons had predicted yet another unlikely piece of modern reality: airplane restaurants. Bart Carney, which aired in 1998, follows Homer and Bart as they befriend carnival workers and get themselves into a string of misadventures. Amid all the circus chaos, one scene sticks out: Homer and Marge enjoying a meal at an airplane-themed restaurant. In true Simpsons style, this place is given a silly name and features all the quirks you'd expect, like airline seats and overhead-style compartments. The gag zeroes in on the idea that this faux travel environment, complete with trays and narrow aisles, would make for a unique, if somewhat claustrophobic, dining experience. At the time, The notion of converting an actual airplane into a stationary restaurant may have seemed too outlandish to catch on widely. Yet, in the years since, airplane restaurants have popped up across the globe. Old passenger jets have been turned into novelty eateries in various countries, offering everything from fast food to fine dining. In some of these establishments, the windows still display airline-branded stickers, and waitstaff may even dress like flight attendants. One high-end restaurant in China, for instance, boasts...
Are you really the last person to find out about this Skip Ads Forever button? This is Pi, and if it sounds familiar to you, it's probably because
It's a full flight simulator as part of the dining adventure. Game of Thrones fiery finale. In the 2017 episode The Simpsons, The Simpsons spins a medieval fantasy tale. The Simpson family is recast in a kingdom full of magic, knights, and dragons, poking fun at a genre popularized by games and television shows alike. As the story unfolds, a powerful dragon is revived and promptly unleashes its fury on the unsuspecting townspeople. Flames engulf everything in sight, painting a scene of rampant destruction and chaos that viewers easily linked to classic fantasy tropes. Most people took it as The Simpsons, doing what it does best, having fun with a pop culture phenomenon that was at its peak. 2 years later, Game of Thrones aired one of its most controversial episodes, Daenerys Targaryen's fiery rampage in the Bells. Viewers watched in shock as she and her dragon laid waste to King's Landing, transforming it from a proud capital into smoldering ruins. Almost immediately, fans of The Simpsons pointed out how The Simpsons eerily mirrored that dramatic twist. Screenshots of the dragon attack in Springfield went viral, side by side with Daenerys' scorched path. FaceTime predicted. In the 1995 Simpsons episode Lisa's Wedding, viewers get a peek into a future world where Lisa is engaged and technology has advanced in fun, unexpected ways. One scene stands out. Lisa makes a video call to her mother, Marge, using a screen that seems attached to a telephone-like device. At the time, the notion of making face-to-face calls from across the globe was mostly the stuff of science fiction. Few imagined that within a couple of decades, services like FaceTime, Zoom, and Skype would become ordinary ways to connect with family, friends, and even co-workers. Back then, people still relied on landlines and early cell phones that did little more than make voice calls. Yet The Simpsons playfully hinted at a future where talking to someone across the world while seeing their face would be as natural as placing a regular phone call. Today, video calls aren't just reserved for special occasions. They're used for everything from remote work and online classrooms to virtual family reunions and doctor visits. Even day-to-day socializing has moved to services like FaceTime, allowing people to chat from anywhere at any time with just a smartphone in hand. This easy access to video calling would have seemed far-fetched in 1995, but Lisa's Wedding showed it off without blinking an eye. As with many predictions, The Simpsons simply pushed existing ideas to their comedic limit, yet somehow managed to...
I think they still doing it though. The type of cartoons they come out with now. Now all the time you see all these type of animals they starting to animals starting to pop up or whatever they coming about. I don't know.
to land on something that's now part of everyday life. Zombie apocalypse. Treehouse of Horror episodes.
I forgot the rapper's name, but I know this is name, but I think it's a documentary or a blog or about an hour. He called the city he from called Zombie City. I don't know what y'all think. I think it's gonna be a zombie attack.
Often deliver The Simpsons at its most outrageous, and Treehouse of Horror 20
What y'all doing with a zombie attack?
which aired in 2009, is no exception. In one segment, the town of Springfield faces a zombie apocalypse triggered by contaminated food. Springfield's beloved news anchor, Kent Brockman, becomes
You went through that. When the food, when the food was contaminated.
patient zero.
Man, a lot of this food today is fake. Um, yeah. Now you gotta watch what you eat.
After unknowingly eating tainted meat, he then infects everyone around him, transforming the city into a chaotic wasteland of shambling, hungry undead. While the scenario is played for laughs, complete with typical Simpsons humor and over-the-top moments, it also offers a tongue-in-cheek warning about the fragility of food safety and supply chains. In real life, large-scale foodborne outbreaks have caused major alarms. Contamination with E. coli, salmonella, or other pathogens can spread rapidly, especially with today's extensive distribution networks. Since the episode aired, concerns over produce recalls and widespread outbreaks of illnesses linked to packaged foods have only reinforced how something small can escalate into a nationwide or even global problem. Of course, the show opts for a virus that turns people into mindless zombies, but the underlying message remains. Human behavior, food processing standards, and public health measures all play a role in preventing disaster. Don Mattingly's hair incident. In the classic 1992 episode Homer at the Bat, Springfield's nuclear power plant forms a company softball team stacked with real-world Major League Baseball stars. One of those stars is Don Mattingly, then a celebrated first baseman for the New York Yankees. The episode pokes fun at Mr. Burns' obsession with what he calls sideburns, which appear non-existent to anyone else. Despite looking perfectly fine, Mattingly keeps getting chewed out by Mr. Burns, who insists he shave imaginary sideburns, or else he's off the team. It all escalates to Mattingly's eventual benching, creating a hilarious subplot that seemed too silly to be real. But the humor gained an extra dimension when fans realized how close it mirrored an actual incident in Mattingly's life. In 1991, before the episode even aired, he had faced a real dispute with the Yankees over their strict grooming policy, which required shorter hair. Mattingly's refusal to conform led to fines and even a brief benching. This coincidence added a dash of surrealism to the episode once the real-life story broke. People started asking, did The Simpsons predict this, or was it just art catching up with reality?
What y'all think? I think they, I don't know. Oh, they know something that we don't know. Do they know something that we don't know? You did? But this the end of this video. Once a like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Turn me up.